Hello guys, how are everyone? Today we explain Anaconda 2025 full movie, part by part. So let's start part 1. The jungle that eats humans. Studio microphone. What if I told you? There exists a place on Earth where you are not the top predator. Where the trees don't just hide danger. They feed it. And deep beneath the still, silent waters, something ancient waits. Patient. Hungry. Not for days. Not for weeks. But sometimes, for years. This is not just a story about survival. This is a story about nature reclaiming its throne. And humans realizing they were never meant to rule it. Welcome to the jungle. Movie Camera Part 1. The expedition begins. Every great disaster begins the same way. With confidence. A group of explorers, filmmakers, and thrill-seekers set out into one of the most dangerous environments on Earth. The untamed Amazon jungle. Their mission? To capture something never seen before. To document the unknown. To push boundaries. But what they didn't realize was that the jungle doesn't like being watched. It watches back. At the center of this expedition is Doug McAllister, a charismatic, slightly reckless leader who believes that fear is just another obstacle to conquer. Alongside him, a mix of personalities. A scientist chasing truth. A cameraman chasing fame. A skeptic chasing logic. And others, chasing something they don't fully understand. At first, everything feels like an adventure. The air is thick, but exciting. The river is calm, almost inviting. And the jungle, beautiful. But beauty in the wild is often a warning. Part 2. The jungle breathes. The deeper they go, the quieter it becomes. No birds, no insects, no wind, just silence. And in nature, silence means one thing. Something is watching. The crew begins to notice strange signs. Massive tracks that don't belong to any known animal. Broken trees, not snapped, but crushed. Water disturbances that move without cause. The scientist tries to explain it away. Unusual ecosystem behavior, she says. But even she doesn't believe her own words. Because deep down, every human has an instinct. And theirs is screaming, leave. But they don't. Because curiosity is stronger than fear. Snake Part 3. First contact. It happens fast. Too fast. One moment, the crew is setting up camp near the river. The next, something moves beneath the surface. Not a ripple. Not a splash. A shift. Like the water itself is alive. Then, bam. One of them is gone. No scream. No struggle. Just gone. The camera drops. The jungle returns to silence. And for the first time, they understand. This isn't an expedition anymore. This is a hunt. Warning Part 4. The realization. Panic sets in. They search the area. Call out names. Check the water. Nothing. No blood. No trace. No evidence. Because the predator they're dealing with doesn't leave evidence. It erases it. That's when the truth begins to surface. They're not dealing with a normal snake. This is something bigger, stronger, smarter. An apex predator that has perfected the art of ambush. And worse, it's not just hunting to survive. It's hunting because this is its territory. Brain Part 5. Fear takes control. Fear changes people. The confident leader becomes desperate. The scientist becomes uncertain. The skeptic becomes silent. Arguments break out. Blame is thrown around. Decisions become rushed. And mistakes deadly. Because in the jungle, fear doesn't just cloud judgment. It kills. One by one, the group begins to fracture. Some want to leave. Some want to stay. Some are too afraid to move at all. But the jungle doesn't wait. And neither does the predator. Waterwave Part 6. The hunt intensifies. The attacks become more frequent. More aggressive. More personal. The creature is learning them. Studying their patterns. predicting their movements. It knows when they sleep, when they move, when they're weakest, and it strikes accordingly. From the trees, from the water, from the shadows. It is everywhere, and nowhere. An invisible nightmare. Microscope Part 7. Understanding the monster. The scientist finally connects the dots. This isn't just a large snake. This is an evolved predator. Stronger muscles, faster reflexes, enhanced intelligence, possibly the result of environmental changes, or something far worse, something unnatural. Because nature doesn't just create monsters. It responds to threats. And maybe humans are the threat. Puzzle Piece Part 8. The plan. With numbers dwindling, the survivors realize one thing. Running isn't enough. They need a plan. They need to fight back. Using what little equipment they have, they devise a trap. A risky one. A desperate one. Because if it fails, there won't be a second chance. Fire Part 9. The final confrontation. Night falls. The jungle becomes darker than ever. Every sound feels amplified. Every shadow feels alive. They set the trap. Wait in silence. And then it comes. Not with noise. Not with warning. But with presence. A massive, terrifying force that moves like liquid death. The fight is brutal, chaotic, unpredictable. And for a moment, it seems like the humans might win. But the jungle always chooses its own champion. Skull Part 10. Survival. Or sacrifice. Not everyone makes it out. In fact, most don't. Because survival in the wild isn't about strength. It's about adaptability. And the ones who survive aren't the strongest. They're the ones who understand the rules. Respect the environment. Trust your instincts. And never, ever, underestimate nature. Sunrise Part 11. Aftermath. The survivors emerge. Changed. Not just physically, but mentally. Because once you've seen something like that, you don't forget it. You carry it. Forever. And the jungle? It remains. Untouched. Unbothered. As if nothing ever happened. Studio Microphone Final Message. We like to believe that we control the world. That technology, intelligence, and power make us superior. But stories like this remind us of a simple truth. We are guests here. Temporary. Fragile. And sometimes, we wander too far into places where we were never meant to go. Because in the end, the jungle doesn't forgive. It doesn't forget. And it certainly doesn't lose.
Part 2. Inside the Hunt, A Predator's Perspective. You think this is a story about humans, a team, an expedition, a fight for survival. But what if you've been looking at it the wrong way? What if the real story is not about those being hunted, but the one doing the hunting? Because deep in the heart of the jungle, there is no hero, there is no villain, there is only instinct. And instinct doesn't care about you. Snake Part 1. The Silent Ruler. Long before the humans arrived, it was already there, hidden beneath dark water, wrapped around ancient roots, blending into a world it completely understands. This is not just a creature. This is a perfect system of survival. Every movement is calculated. Every breath is controlled. Every strike is precise. It does not rush. It does not panic. Because it doesn't need to. Time is on its side. Globe Showing America's Part 2. A World Without Mercy. The jungle is not cruel. It is not evil. It is simply honest. Here, there are no second chances, no fairness, no rules, only one truth. Eat or be eaten. And at the top of this food chain, is something that doesn't just survive. It dominates. The anaconda is not the fastest predator, not the most aggressive, but it is the most patient. And patience is deadlier than speed. Compass Part 3. The intruders arrive. Then one day, the balance shifts. The water vibrates differently. The air carries unfamiliar scents. The ground echoes with unnatural footsteps. Humans. Loud. Clumsy. Unaware. To them, this is exploration. To the jungle, this is invasion. And to the predator, this is opportunity. Part 4. Observation. It doesn't attack immediately. It watches. From beneath the waterline, through reflections, through vibrations. It studies them. How they move. How they separate. How they panic. Because the hunt doesn't begin with the strike. It begins with understanding. And humans are incredibly predictable. Gear Part 5. Choosing the weak link. Every group has one. The slowest. The loudest. The most distracted. The predator identifies it instantly. Not through thought, but through instinct refined over generations. It waits for the perfect moment. Because in the wild, a failed attack is not just a mistake. It's a risk. And this creature doesn't take risks. Waterwave Part 6. The first strike. The water is still. Too still. Then suddenly, motion. Not seen, but felt. The strike is explosive. A blur of muscle and force. No warning. No hesitation. And just like that, one life ends. No scream echoes long enough. No fight lasts more than seconds. Because once the coils tighten, it's already over. Brain Part 7. The human response. From the predator's perspective, humans are fascinating. They don't scatter like prey. They don't adapt quickly. They argue. They hesitate. They make noise. And most importantly, they stay. Even after danger is clear, they stay. Driven by emotion, by curiosity, by denial. And every second they stay increases their chances of becoming prey. Repeat button Part 8. The hunt becomes a pattern. Now the predator understands them. It knows their routines, their fears, their weaknesses. The hunt becomes easier, predictable, almost routine. Because unlike humans, it doesn't forget. Every encounter is data. Every movement is memory. And with each passing moment, it becomes more efficient. New Moon Part 9. Night, the perfect cover. Darkness falls. For humans, it's a disadvantage. For the predator, it's an advantage. Because it doesn't rely on sight. It feels vibrations, detects heat, senses movement. In the dark, it is unstoppable. And the jungle becomes its hunting ground. Crossed Swords Part 10. Resistance. Something changes. The humans begin to fight back. They set traps, use fire, create noise. For the first time, the predator encounters resistance. But resistance doesn't equal victory. Because the jungle doesn't belong to them. Every step they take is a disadvantage. Fire Part 11. Adaptation. The predator adjusts, avoids traps, changes patterns, becomes more cautious. Because survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the smartest. And intelligence exists in many forms, not just human. Skull Part 12. The final hunt. Now it's no longer just feeding. It's eliminating a threat. The remaining humans are desperate, cornered, unpredictable. But even desperation has patterns, and the predator recognizes them. The final confrontation is not a battle. It's a conclusion, a result of everything that came before. Every mistake, every decision, every step deeper into the jungle. Sunrise Part 13. Restoring balance. When it's over, the jungle returns to silence. No celebration, no acknowledgement, because for the predator, this was never personal. It was necessary. The balance has been restored. The intruders are gone. Studio Microphone Part 14. The Truth We Ignore. Outro. Humans like to see themselves as the center of every story. The heroes, the survivors, the winners. But in places like this, we are none of those things. We are temporary, replaceable, vulnerable, and sometimes we are simply prey. Fire final line. High retention ending. The next time you step into the wild, remember, you may think you're exploring it, but something out there is already exploring you. Part 3 Case File. The Amazon Incident. What really happened? On July 18th, a film crew entered the Amazon rainforest. Their mission was simple: document the unknown, capture rare wildlife, and return with footage that would shock the world. But they never returned. Days later, only fragments were found: a broken camera, a damaged boat, and a recording that authorities would later describe as deeply disturbing. This is not just a story. This is a reconstruction of what might have actually happened in the jungle, where something hunted them, one by one. File Folder Part 1. The Official Report. According to official documents, the expedition consisted of a team leader, a wildlife expert, a small film crew, and support staff. Their route was pre-planned. Their equipment, state-of-the-art. Their goal, ambitious. But within 72 hours, communication was lost. No distress signal. No emergency call. Just silence. Rescue teams were dispatched. But what they found raised more questions than answers. Movie Camera Part 2. The recovered footage. Among the debris, investigators discovered a partially damaged camera. Inside it, hours of footage. At first, everything seemed normal. The crew was excited, energetic, confident. They joked, planned shots, discussed future success. But then, the tone shifted. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. Part 3. Signs of disturbance. Frame by frame, investigators noticed unusual details. Trees bent in unnatural ways. Sudden silence in otherwise active environments. Crew members reacting to sounds that microphones barely picked up. One clip shows the team stopping suddenly. No one speaks, but everyone looks toward the water, as if something beneath the surface was looking back. Brain Part 4. Expert Analysis. Wildlife experts reviewing the footage proposed several theories. A large undiscovered species, abnormal predator behavior, environmental anomalies. But none of these explanations fully matched what was seen, because what they observed wasn't just size. It was behavior, calculated, deliberate, almost intelligent. Warning Part 5. The first disappearance. One of the most chilling clips shows the moment everything changed. The team is setting up near a riverbank. The atmosphere is calm. Then suddenly, the camera shakes. A voice shouts, and within seconds, one crew member is gone. No clear image of the attacker. No visible struggle. Just confusion, panic, and a question that echoes throughout the recording. Where did he go? Magnifying glass tilted left, part 6. Search and denial. The crew begins searching immediately, calling out names, scanning the water, reviewing footage, but they find nothing. No blood, no tracks, no evidence. At this point, denial sets in. Some believe it was an accident, others suspect something else, but no one is ready to say it out loud, because saying it makes it real. Waterwave Part 7. Pattern recognition. As investigators continue reviewing footage, a pattern emerges. Attacks occur near water. Victims are isolated moments before disappearing. The environment becomes unnaturally quiet before each incident. This suggests one thing: a predator, using ambush tactics. But not just any predator. One that understands timing. New Moon Part 8. Night footage. The most disturbing clips come from nighttime recordings. Low visibility, heavy breathing, whispers of fear. In one segment, the camera captures movement in the distance. Not clearly, not fully, but enough to confirm something massive is there, watching, waiting. Crossed Swords Part 9. Attempts to fight back. The crew eventually realizes they are being hunted. They attempt to defend themselves, setting traps, using fire, staying in groups. But these efforts prove ineffective because the predator adapts, avoids danger, changes patterns, and continues hunting. Puzzle Piece Part 10. The final recording. The last piece of footage is incomplete, damaged, distorted. But what remains is enough. Heavy breathing, rapid movement, screams, and then a brief image, a massive form, emerging from darkness, followed by static. Chart decreasing Part 11. Recovery team findings. When rescue teams arrived, no survivors were found. Equipment was scattered. The area showed signs of disturbance, but no clear explanation. The official conclusion? Unconfirmed wildlife attack. But many investigators disagreed, because what they saw didn't match any known species behavior. Brain Part 12. Alternative theories. Over time, several theories emerged. Small blue diamond, a previously undiscovered giant anaconda. Small blue diamond mutation caused by environmental factors. Small blue diamond exaggeration due to panic and fear. But none could fully explain the precision, the intelligence, the consistency, because whatever was out there wasn't just acting on instinct. It was adapting. Sunrise Part 13. Why this case still matters. This incident remains unsolved. No definitive answers. No confirmed evidence. Only footage, reports, and speculation. But it serves as a reminder. There are still places on Earth we don't fully understand, and things we have yet to discover. Studio microphone. Final investigation close. In the end, the jungle keeps its secrets. It doesn't explain. It doesn't justify. It simply exists. And sometimes, it reminds us that we are not in control. Fire. Final line. High retention. Officially, this case is closed. But if you ask the jungle, it never even began. Part 4. 24 Hours in Hell A. What if your entire life came down to just 24 hours? 24 hours, in a place where every step could be your last. 24 hours, hunted by something you can't see. 24 hours, to survive the impossible. This is not just a story. This is a timeline, a reconstruction of the final 24 hours, of a team that walked into the jungle and never walked out the same. Stopwatch Hour 0, arrival, 8 a.m. The sun rises over the Amazon. The river glistens. The jungle breathes slowly. The crew arrives with excitement. Cameras ready. Energy high. Confidence unshaken. They laugh. They joke. They feel unstoppable. Because right now, they still believe this is an adventure. Stopwatch Hour 1. Entering the unknown, 9 a.m. They move deeper into the jungle. The boat cuts through narrow waterways. Branches scrape against the sides. The air becomes heavier, thicker, almost suffocating, but no one says it out loud, because fear hasn't fully arrived yet. Stopwatch Hour 2. First signs, 10 a.m. Something changes. The jungle becomes quieter. Too quiet. The wildlife disappears. Even the insects go silent. One crew member points it out. Others laugh it off. But the camera captures something strange. Water moving, without wind. Stopwatch Hour 3. Uneasy feeling, 11 a.m. The team stops to set up equipment. But something feels wrong. They can't explain it. Just a feeling that they're not alone. Eyes begin to wander. Voices lower. The jungle is watching. Stopwatch Hour 4. Denial, 12 p.m. Lunch break. They try to relax. Jokes return. Confidence rebuilds. Because humans are good at one thing, ignoring danger, especially when it's not visible. Stopwatch Hour 5. The first disturbance, 1 p.m. A loud splash echoes through the river. Everyone freezes. Cameras turn. But nothing is there. Just ripples, slowly fading. The leader dismisses it. Probably a fish. But no one fully believes it. Stopwatch Hour 6. Split decision, 2 p.m. The group divides. Some stay near the boat. Others explore deeper inland. A classic mistake. Because in the wild, separation means vulnerability. Stopwatch Hour 7. First disappearance, 3 p.m. It happens without warning. A scream. Then silence. The group rushes back. But one member is gone. No trace. No struggle. Just gone. The mood shifts instantly. Adventure turns into fear. Stopwatch Hour 8. Panic, 4 p.m. Search efforts begin. Voices echo through the jungle. Names are shouted repeatedly. But the jungle gives nothing back. Because it doesn't return what it takes. Stopwatch Hour 9. Realization, 5 p.m. They gather. Count heads. Confirm the worst. Someone is missing. And deep down, they know why. But no one wants to say it. Stopwatch Hour 10. Attempt to leave, 6 p.m. They rush back to the boat. Start the engine. Try to escape. But something is wrong. The engine fails. Or maybe it was never meant to work again. Because the jungle decides who leaves. Stopwatch Hour 11. Sunset, 7 p.m. Darkness begins to fall. And with it, fear intensifies. Because night changes everything. In daylight, you can see danger. At night, danger sees you. Stopwatch hour 12. Night begins, 8 p.m. They set up a temporary camp. Stay close. Stay quiet. But silence doesn't bring safety. It brings tension. Every sound feels amplified. Every movement feels close. Stopwatch hour 13. Second attack, 9 p.m. It strikes again. Faster. Closer. Another member disappears. This time, they hear it. A heavy movement. A crushing force. Something massive. Stopwatch hour 14. Breakdown, 10 p.m. Panic takes over. Arguments explode. Fear turns into blame. Some want to run. Some want to hide. No one agrees. And that makes them weaker. Stopwatch hour 15. The truth, 11 p.m. They finally say it. Out loud. It's hunting us. And once the truth is spoken, it can't be ignored anymore. Stopwatch hour 16. Midnight terror, 12 a.m. The jungle is at its darkest. The attacks become more aggressive, closer, more precise, because now the predator knows them. Stopwatch hour 17. Survival mode, 1 a.m. The remaining survivors change strategy. No more panic. No more running blindly. They start thinking, planning, because survival requires adaptation. Stopwatch hour 18. Building a trap, 2 a.m. Using limited resources, they prepare a trap. Fire, rope, improvised weapons. It's risky, but it's their only chance. Stopwatch hour 19. Waiting, 3 a.m. They wait in silence. Every second feels like hours. Every sound feels like death approaching, because it could happen any moment. Stopwatch hour 20. The encounter, 4 a.m. It appears. Not fully visible, but undeniable. A massive presence, moving through shadows like liquid. The trap is triggered. Chaos erupts. Stopwatch hour 21. The fight, 5 a.m. It's not a clean battle. It's messy, violent, desperate. Humans versus nature. And for a moment, it feels like they might win. Stopwatch hour 22. Sacrifice, 6 a.m. But survival demands a price. Not everyone makes it, because in the wild, someone always pays. Stopwatch hour 23. Escape, 7 a.m. The survivors reach the river. The boat works again. Or maybe they just got lucky. They leave. But they don't look back. Because they know something is still there. Watching. Stopwatch hour 24. Aftermath, 8 a.m. The sun rises again, just like the day before. But everything has changed. They are no longer explorers. They are survivors. And survival comes with scars. In just 24 hours, everything changed. Lives lost. Truths revealed. Fear understood. Because the jungle doesn't need days to prove a point. It only needs a moment. Fire final line. Retention ending. 24 hours ago, they entered the jungle as hunters. But 24 hours later, they left as something else entirely. The hunted. Now we explain Part 5, the hidden truth, dark secrets, and psychological meaning behind the jungle. What if this wasn't just a story about a giant snake? What if the jungle, the hunt, the fear, was never really about survival, but something deeper, something hidden, something psychological? Because sometimes the real monster is not what's chasing you in the dark, it's what's already inside you. Brain Part 1. The illusion of control. At the beginning, everything feels controlled. The team arrives with equipment, plans, confidence. They believe they understand the environment. They believe they can handle whatever comes. But this is the first illusion, because control is something humans create to feel safe, not something they actually have. The jungle represents a reality where control doesn't exist, where nature doesn't follow human logic, where power is not given, it is taken, and very quickly, that illusion begins to break. Part 2. The jungle as a symbol. The jungle is more than just a setting. It's a symbol of the unknown, of chaos, of everything humans fear but cannot understand. It is dense, unpredictable, unforgiving, just like the human mind under pressure. The deeper the team goes, the deeper they enter not just the jungle, but their own fears. Snake Part 3. The Anaconda. What does it really represent? The anaconda is not just a creature. It is a representation of fear, death, the inevitability of nature, the consequences of human arrogance. It doesn't chase randomly. It doesn't act emotionally. It simply exists. And that's what makes it terrifying. Because unlike humans, it doesn't hesitate. It doesn't doubt. It doesn't fear. It is pure instinct. And in that way, it represents something humans have lost. Warning Part 4. Human arrogance. At the start, the team believes they are superior. They bring technology, knowledge, confidence, but none of it matters, because the jungle doesn't recognize human superiority. This reflects a deeper truth. Humans often overestimate their importance. They believe they can conquer anything, but nature has always been stronger. And when pushed, it reminds them. Puzzle Piece Part 5. The breakdown of the mind. As fear increases, logic decreases. The characters begin to change. Calm individuals become aggressive. Rational thinkers become paranoid. Leaders become uncertain. This isn't just survival. This is psychological collapse. Because when humans lose control, they don't just fight the outside threat. They fight themselves. New Moon Part 6. Darkness as fear. Night plays a critical role, not just visually, but symbolically. Darkness represents the unknown, loss of clarity, inner fear. During the night, the characters are at their weakest, because without light, they can't see the threat, and when you can't see danger, your mind creates it. Magnifying Glass Tilted Left Part 7. Is the monster real or magnified? Here's a deeper question. Is the creature as powerful as it seems, or is it amplified by fear? Because fear changes perception. It makes threats seem bigger, closer, more unstoppable. This doesn't mean the danger isn't real, but it means the experience of it is shaped by the mind. Crossed Swords Part 8. Survival versus humanity. As the situation worsens, the characters face a choice. Survive or remain human, because survival sometimes requires sacrifice, selfish decisions, abandoning others, and not everyone is willing to do that. This creates conflict, not just with the creature, but within the group. Counterclockwise arrows button Part 9. The Cycle of Nature. The story reflects a natural cycle. Humans enter, disrupt balance, face consequences, are removed. This cycle repeats, not just in the jungle, but in real life, because nature always restores balance, no matter the cost. Brain Part 10. Fear as a teacher. Fear is not just an enemy, it's a teacher. It reveals who we really are, what we truly value, how far we're willing to go. In the jungle, fear strips away everything fake, leaving only the truth. Skull Part 11. Death as inevitable. Another hidden theme is inevitability. No matter how prepared the team is, death remains a constant possibility. This reflects a deeper human fear, the lack of control over life and death, and the realization that sometimes there is no escape. Sunrise Part 12. Transformation. The survivors don't leave the jungle the same, because experiences like this change people. They lose innocence, gain awareness, understand reality. The jungle doesn't just test them, it transforms them. Performing Arts Part 13. The Real Message. At its core, this story isn't about a monster. It's about human vulnerability, the illusion of control, the power of nature, the psychology of fear. The creature is just a tool, a representation of something deeper. We even look for monsters in the world around us, in the dark, in the unknown, in places we don't understand. But sometimes, the real monster is something else entirely, something closer, something within. Because fear doesn't just come from what's chasing us, it comes from what we believe about what's chasing us. Fire Final Line. The jungle didn't just hunt them, it revealed them, and in the end, that was far more terrifying. Now we explain Part 6, Real versus Movie, the science behind the anaconda myth. A snake, longer than a bus, stronger than steel, smart enough to hunt humans, one by one. Sounds like fiction, right? But what if I told you some parts of this story are actually real? Today we separate myth from reality. We break down the science, the biology, and the truth behind one of the most terrifying creatures ever imagined. Because the real question is not, is the movie exaggerated? The real question is, how close is it to the truth? DNA Part 1. Meet the real creature. Let's start with reality. The real anaconda, specifically the green anaconda, is the largest and heaviest snake on Earth. Found in South America, especially the Amazon basin, this creature is capable of growing over 20 feet long, weighing more than 200 kilograms, living both in water and on land. Unlike venomous snakes, it doesn't kill with poison, it kills with pressure. Snake Part 2. How anacondas really hunt. In the movie, the creature appears aggressive and constantly attacking. But in reality, anacondas are ambush predators. They don't chase. They don't waste energy. They wait, perfectly still, perfectly hidden, until the moment is right. Then, they strike. Fast, precise, overwhelming. They wrap around their prey and tighten, not to crush bones, but to stop blood flow. Death comes quietly. Waterwave Part 3. Water, the perfect weapon. One thing the movie gets right: the environment. Anacondas are most dangerous in water. Why? Because in water, their massive size becomes an advantage. Their movement becomes nearly silent. Their victims lose mobility. In shallow rivers and swamps, they become nearly invisible. Just eyes and nostrils above the surface, watching, waiting. Straight Ruler Part 4. Size, fact versus fiction. Now let's address the biggest question. Can an anaconda really grow as large as shown in the movie? Short answer: no, but almost. The largest confirmed anacondas reach around 20 to 25 feet. In the movie, the creature appears significantly larger, sometimes unrealistically so. But here's the interesting part. There have been unverified reports of snakes much bigger. Some claim lengths of 30 feet or more. While not scientifically proven, it leaves room for imagination. And sometimes, that's all stories need. Brain Part 5. Intelligence. How smart are they? In the movie, the creature seems almost strategic. Planning attacks, tracking humans, adapting quickly. In reality, snakes don't think like humans. They don't plan. They don't strategize. But they do have highly developed instincts, sensitivity to vibrations, ability to detect heat. This allows them to react with incredible precision. So while they're not intelligent in a human sense, they are perfectly designed for survival. Warning Part 6. Do anacondas attack humans? This is where fear meets fact. Documented cases of anacondas attacking humans are extremely rare. Why? Because humans are not typical prey. We are too large, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Most anacondas will avoid humans if possible. However, if threatened, or if the opportunity seems right, an attack can happen, but it is not common. Microscope Part 7. Could a monster anaconda exist? Let's explore the possibility. Could environmental changes create a larger, more aggressive species? In theory, changes in habitat, increased food availability, genetic mutations could influence size and behavior. But turning an anaconda into a super predator like in the movie? Highly unlikely. Nature evolves slowly, not overnight. Herb Part 8. The role of the jungle. The Amazon rainforest is one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. It supports millions of species, endless food chains, constant competition. In such an environment, only the most efficient predators survive. The anaconda is one of them, not because it is the strongest, but because it is the most adapted. Movie Camera Part 9. Why movies exaggerate. So why does the movie make the creature seem so extreme? Because fear sells. Exaggeration creates tension. Drama increases engagement. A realistic anaconda is dangerous, but a fictional one? It becomes unforgettable. And that's the goal of storytelling. Puzzle Piece Part 10. What the movie gets right. Despite exaggerations, the film does get several things correct. Heavy checkmark ambush hunting style. Heavy checkmark use of water as cover. Heavy checkmark strength and constriction method. Heavy checkmark stealth and patience. These elements are grounded in real biology. which is why the story feels believable. Crossmark Part 11. What the movie gets wrong. But there are clear exaggerations. Heavy multiplication x unrealistic size. Heavy multiplication x continuous aggression toward humans. Heavy multiplication x strategic, almost human-like intelligence. Heavy multiplication x frequent attacks in short time spans. These are designed for entertainment, not accuracy. Brain Part 12. Why we fear creatures like this. Fear of snakes is deeply rooted in human psychology. It's instinctive, because throughout evolution, snakes have been real threats. Our brains are wired to react to them quickly. Movies like this amplify that fear, turning a natural instinct into full-blown terror. Sunrise Part 13. Final verdict, myth or reality? So, is the movie realistic? Partially. It takes real science and pushes it to the extreme. The result? A creature that feels possible, even when it's not. And that's what makes it so effective. Studio microphone. In the end, the real Anaconda doesn't need exaggeration. It doesn't need special effects, because it is already one of the most powerful predators on Earth. Silent, patient, deadly. And while the movie may stretch the truth, it reminds us of something important. Nature doesn't need to be fictional to be terrifying. Fire final line. Hi. Now we explain. I am the jungle, the story told by the predator. You call me a monster, a nightmare, a creature of fear. But you forget one thing. This was never your world. It was always mine. Before your boats, before your cameras, before your noise, I was here, watching, waiting, surviving. And now, you have come into my home, thinking you are the hunters, but you are wrong, because in this story, I am not the villain. I am the balance. Part 1. Before you came, the jungle is not chaos. It is order. Every sound has meaning. Every movement has purpose. I move when I need to. I hunt when I must. I do not waste. I do not destroy without reason. This is survival. Pure. Simple. Perfect. For years, there has been peace. Until you arrived. Waterwave Part 2. I felt you before I saw you. You think I saw your boat first. No. I felt it. The vibrations in the water. The disturbance in the current. You were loud. Too loud. You didn't belong here. The jungle noticed. And so did I. Part 3. Watching you. I did not attack immediately. I observed. You moved in groups. You spoke constantly. You touched everything. You were careless. And in this place, carelessness is death. I watched you laugh. I watched you ignore the silence. You didn't understand what it meant, but I did. Because silence means I am near. Balance Scale Part 4. You broke the balance. You entered my territory, disturbed the water, scared the prey, changed the rhythm. You did not ask permission. You never do. Humans take. That is your nature. But here, taking has consequences, and I am one of them. Snake Part 5. The first hunt. I chose carefully, the weakest, the most distracted. You call it cruel. I call it efficient. The strike was quick. No pain, no struggle, just silence. Because in the jungle, death is not dramatic. It is necessary. Brain Part 6. Your fear grew. After that, everything changed. Your voices became sharper. Your movements became faster. You were afraid. And fear makes you predictable. You stayed together, then separated, then argued. Every choice made you easier to hunt. New Moon Part 7. Night belongs to me. When darkness came, you lost your advantage, but I gained mine. I do not need light. I feel you, hear you, sense you. You think hiding helps, but hiding only delays the inevitable. Because I am patient, and patience always wins. Counterclockwise arrows button Part 8. You tried to fight back. You used fire, noise, movement. You tried to become predators, but you are not built for this world. Your strength is elsewhere. Here, you are vulnerable, and vulnerability is what I hunt. Crossed Swords Part 9. The final confrontation. You stopped running. You made a plan. For the first time, you adapted. I respected that. Because survival is not about species. It's about will. The fight was intense. You resisted. But resistance does not guarantee victory. Because this is my domain. And in my domain, I do not lose. Skull Part 10. Why I do what I do. You think I enjoy this, that I hunt for pleasure, but you are wrong. I hunt to live. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no hatred, no revenge, only instinct. And instinct is truth. Sunrise Part 11. After you left, when it was over, the jungle returned to normal. The water calmed. The sounds returned, as if you were never here. Because in the end, you were just a moment, a brief disturbance, in a world that has existed long before you. Puzzle Piece Part 12. The real monster. You call me a monster, but ask yourself this. Who entered whose home? Who disrupted the balance? Who ignored the warnings? You fear me, because I remind you of something you don't want to accept, that you are not always in control. I am not evil. I am not cruel. I am nature, unfiltered, unapologetic, unstoppable. And if you choose to enter my world again, remember this. I will not chase you. I will not warn you. I will simply wait. You think you survived the jungle, but the truth is, the jungle simply decided to let you go. Now we explain the failed expedition, a jungle disaster investigation. It was supposed to be a routine expedition, a professional crew, modern equipment, carefully planned routes. But within days, everything went wrong. Communication was lost. Team members vanished. And what remained was a mystery buried deep inside the jungle. This is not just a story of survival. This is an investigation into how a well-prepared mission turned into a complete disaster. Round Pushpin Part 1. Mission Overview. The expedition had a clear objective: document rare wildlife, capture unseen footage, explore untouched regions. The team was experienced. They had heavy check mark navigation systems, heavy check mark communication devices, heavy check mark survival training. On paper, this mission should have succeeded. But disasters don't always begin with obvious mistakes. Sometimes, they begin with overconfidence. Compass Part 2. Entry into high-risk zone. The chosen route led the team into a dense, low-visibility jungle region. This area was known for limited escape routes, heavy water networks, high predator activity. Despite warnings, the team proceeded, because turning back was not part of the plan. Warning Part 3. Early warning signs. Within the first 24 hours, several warning signs appeared. Small blue diamond, sudden drop in wildlife activity. Small blue diamond, unusual silence in the environment. Small blue diamond, unexplained disturbances in water. These indicators suggested a large predator was nearby, but the team misinterpreted these signs. They assumed it was normal environmental variation. This was the first critical mistake. Brain Part 4. Human Factor Analysis. Disaster investigations often focus on one key element: human decision-making. In this case, several psychological factors played a role: overconfidence in equipment, underestimation of environmental risk, group pressure to continue. These factors led to poor judgment, and poor judgment leads to disaster. Waterwave Part 5. The first incident. The first disappearance occurred near a riverbank. Key observations: victim was isolated. Attack was sudden. No immediate evidence was found. This indicates a classic ambush scenario. The team responded with confusion instead of strategy. Another critical mistake. Chart decreasing Part 6. Breakdown of structure. After the first incident, the team lost cohesion. Communication became inconsistent. Decisions became emotional. Instead of regrouping and reassessing, they continued operating under stress. This led to increased vulnerability, poor coordination, higher risk exposure. New Moon Part 7. Night operations failure. Operating at night significantly increased danger. Visibility dropped. Reaction time slowed. Meanwhile, the predator's advantage increased. This created an imbalance. Humans became weaker. The threat became stronger. Magnifying glass tilted left Part 8. Predator behavior analysis. Based on available evidence, the predator displayed heavy check mark ambush tactics, heavy check mark pattern recognition, heavy check mark environmental awareness. This suggests a highly efficient hunter, not random, not chaotic, but precise. Crossed Swords Part 9. Failed defense strategies. The team attempted multiple defensive measures: setting traps, using fire, staying in groups. However, these efforts failed due to crossmark lack of coordination, crossmark insufficient planning, crossmark underestimating the threat. In disaster terms, this is called Reactive response instead of proactive strategy. Puzzle piece part 10. Cascade failure. A cascade failure occurs when one mistake leads to another. In this case, ignored warning signs, first disappearance, panic response, poor decisions, increased exposure, more losses. Each step made recovery harder, until survival became unlikely. Skull part 11. Final phase. By the final stage, team numbers were reduced. Resources were limited. Morale was low. At this point, survival chances dropped significantly. Because in extreme environments, mental strength is as important as physical ability. And once that breaks, everything else follows. Sunrise Part 12. Recovery findings. When recovery teams arrived, they found scattered equipment, signs of struggle, no clear explanation for events. The official conclusion remained inconclusive because the jungle does not easily reveal its secrets. Brain Part 13. Lessons learned. Every disaster leaves behind lessons. This one teaches us. Heavy check mark respect environmental warnings. Heavy check mark maintain team structure under stress. Heavy check mark avoid overconfidence. Heavy check mark adapt quickly to changing threats. Because survival depends on preparation and awareness. In the end, this was not just a failure of survival. It was a failure of understanding. The team entered the jungle, believing they could control it, but the jungle proved otherwise. Because nature doesn't negotiate, it doesn't compromise, it simply reacts. Fire. This wasn't just an expedition that failed. It was a reminder that in the wild, one wrong decision can be your last. White heavy check mark. Now we explain part 9. What if they chose differently? The alternate survival story. Every story has a moment, a single decision that changes everything. Turn left or right, stay or leave, fight or run. In one version of this story, those choices led to fear, loss, and death. But what if they made different choices? What if one small decision changed the entire outcome? Today, we explore an alternate reality where survival was possible, but only if they understood the jungle before it was too late. Counterclockwise arrows button part 1. Rewinding the story. Let's go back to the beginning. The team arrives at the edge of the jungle. Same people, same mission, same confidence. But this time, something is different. Instead of rushing in, they hesitate, just for a moment, and that moment changes everything. Compass Part 2. The first different decision. In the original timeline, they ignored early warning signs. But here, they don't. They notice the silence. They observe the environment. They listen to their instincts. And instead of dismissing it, they adapt. They slow down. Because sometimes, survival begins with simply paying attention. Part 3. Respecting the environment. Instead of treating the jungle as a challenge, they treat it as a system. They heavy check mark stay together. Heavy check mark avoid unnecessary noise. Heavy check mark limit movement near water. They begin to understand one critical truth. This is not their world. And once they accept that, their chances improve. Waterwave Part 4. Avoiding the first attack. In the original story, the first disappearance happens near water. But in this version, they don't go there. They recognize the danger zones. They adjust their route. And because of that, the first attack never happens. The predator is still there, still watching. But now, it doesn't have an easy target. Brain Part 5. Thinking like prey. To survive. Instead of acting like hunters, they think like prey. They ask, where would a predator strike? When are we most vulnerable? How can we reduce risk? This shift in mindset changes everything, because survival isn't about dominance. It's about awareness. Warning Part 6. The second critical moment. At one point, the team considers splitting up. In the original timeline, they do, and it leads to disaster. But here, they don't. They stay together, because they understand isolation equals vulnerability, and vulnerability is what the predator waits for. New Moon Part 7. Preparing for night. Nightfall approaches. Instead of reacting, they prepare. They heavy check mark secure their location. Heavy check mark set defensive perimeters. Heavy check mark maintain visibility. They don't eliminate danger, but they reduce it. And sometimes, that's enough. Snake Part 8. The first encounter. Even with better decisions, they can't avoid the predator forever. The first real encounter happens at night. But this time, they're ready. They see movement. They stay calm. They don't panic. And because of that, no one is taken. Crossed Swords Part 9. Controlled response. Instead of chaos, there is coordination. They communicate clearly. They move strategically. They don't try to fight blindly. They create distance. Because sometimes, the best way to win is not to fight at all. Microscope Part 10. Understanding the threat. The team begins analyzing the predator's behavior. They identify patterns. It prefers water. It targets isolated individuals. It attacks with precision. With this knowledge, they adapt further, avoiding high-risk zones, minimizing exposure, turning the hunt into a game of survival. Puzzle Piece Part 11. The escape plan. Instead of waiting for things to get worse, they create an exit strategy early. They repair the boat, map a safer route, move during daylight. Every decision is calculated, because now they understand what's at stake. Sunrise Part 12. The final test. Just before escape, the predator makes one last attempt. A final ambush. But this time, it fails. Because the team is no longer careless. They are aware, prepared, focused. And in survival situations, that makes all the difference. Canoe Part 13. Successful escape. They leave the jungle. Not untouched, but alive. Because they made different choices. Better choices. Smarter choices. Brain Part 14. The lesson of this timeline. This alternate story teaches one powerful lesson. Survival is not luck. It is the result of decisions. Small decisions, repeated over time, that either increase risk or reduce it. In one version of this story, they became victims. In another, they became survivors. The difference, not strength, not equipment, but choice. Because in the end, the jungle doesn't decide your fate alone. You do, with every step you take. Fire. One wrong decision can kill you, but one right decision can save everything. It's time to explain Part 10. They entered for fame, but faced fear. They came to the jungle, with cameras, with dreams, with ambition. They wanted fame. They wanted discovery. They wanted a story that would shock the world. But what they found was something else entirely, because deep inside the jungle, there are no second takes, no retakes, no escape, only one rule: survive or disappear. Movie Camera Part 1. The beginning of the journey. It all starts with excitement. A group of explorers and filmmakers sets out on a bold mission to capture something never seen before. The energy is high. The team is confident. At the center of it all is their leader, charismatic, fearless, and slightly reckless. He believes nothing can go wrong, and that belief is their first mistake. Part 2. Entering the jungle. As they move deeper into the jungle, everything feels surreal. The towering trees, the endless green, the mysterious silence. At first, it's beautiful, almost magical. But slowly, that beauty begins to feel wrong, because the deeper they go, the quieter it becomes. And silence in the jungle is never a good sign. Warning Part 3. The first warning. They notice small things, strange movements in the water, unusual patterns in the environment. One of them points it out, but the others laugh it off. Because when fear is small, humans ignore it, and that is exactly what they do. Waterwave Part 4. The moment everything changes. They stop near a river, set up equipment, prepare for filming. Everything seems normal, until suddenly, something moves beneath the water. Fast, violent, and in seconds, one of them is gone. No warning, no chance to react. Just gone. The jungle goes silent again, as if nothing happened. Fearful Face Part 5. Fear takes over. Panic spreads instantly. They search. They shout. They look everywhere. But there's nothing. No trace. No evidence. Only fear. And that fear changes everything. Brain Part 6. Denial and confusion. Some refuse to believe what happened. It was an accident. It must be something else. But deep down, they know the truth. Something is out there. Something that doesn't miss. Counterclockwise Arrows Button Part 7. The hunt begins. From this moment on, everything shifts. They are no longer explorers. They are targets. The creature begins to hunt them. Carefully, strategically, relentlessly. It watches, waits, strikes, and disappears again. New Moon Part 8. Nightmare in the dark. Night falls, and with it comes terror. The darkness feels alive. Every sound is amplified. Every shadow feels dangerous. They stay close, but it doesn't matter, because the predator doesn't need light. It knows exactly where they are. Crossed Swords Part 9. Desperate attempts. They try to fight back. Use fire. Set traps. Make plans. But nothing works. Because they're not in control. They never were. Broken Heart Part 10. Losing each other. One by one, they fall. Some disappear suddenly. Some fight, but lose. Each loss hits harder than the last. Because now, they understand something terrifying. They might not survive. Puzzle Piece Part 11. The turning point. The remaining survivors realize they need to change. No more panic. No more mistakes. They start thinking, analyzing, understanding the creature. Because if they don't adapt, they die. Fire Part 12. The final plan. With limited resources, they create a plan. A dangerous one. A desperate one. But it's their only chance. They prepare for one final encounter. One final fight. Snake Part 13. The final showdown. It happens at night. The jungle is silent. Then suddenly, movement. The creature appears. Massive, terrifying, unstoppable. The fight begins. Chaos erupts. For a moment, it feels like they might win. But victory comes at a cost. Skull Part 14. Survival has a price. Not everyone makes it. Some sacrifices are unavoidable. Because survival in the wild is never free. Sunrise Part 15. Escape. The survivors reach the river. They manage to leave. Barely. Exhausted. Broken. Changed forever. Because once you've faced something like that, you don't go back to who you were. Brain Part 16. What this story really means. This is more than a survival story. It's about human arrogance, fear and adaptation, respecting nature. Because the jungle doesn't forgive mistakes. And it doesn't care who you are. They came for fame. They came for discovery. But what they found was reality. A A reality where humans are not the strongest, not the smartest, just another part of the food chain. Fire. They entered the jungle to tell a story, but in the end, the jungle told theirs. White heavy check mark.
Now we explain Part 11. Real vs. Movie Timeline. What actually makes sense? What you saw on screen was intense, terrifying, unforgettable. But here's the question. How much of it actually makes sense? Could those events really happen? Could a team realistically survive that long? And could a predator behave that way? Today, we break down the entire timeline, scene by scene, decision by decision, to separate cinematic fiction from real-world logic. Stopwatch Part 1. The start. Confidence versus reality. Clapperboard movie version. The team enters the jungle confidently, with minimal hesitation. Microscope real-world analysis. In reality, professional expeditions don't move this quickly. They would. Heavy checkmark conduct environmental assessments. Heavy checkmark study wildlife patterns. Heavy checkmark prepare escape routes. White right pointing backhand index verdict. The movie speeds this up for storytelling. In real life, this level of confidence without preparation is risky. Herb Part 2. Entering deep jungle too fast. Clapperboard movie version. The team travels deep into dangerous territory within hours. Microscope real-world analysis. This is highly unrealistic. Dense jungle movement is slow due to thick vegetation, limited visibility, difficult terrain. White right pointing backhand index verdict. The timeline is compressed. In reality, this would take days, not hours. Warning sign Part 3. Ignoring warning signs. Clapperboard movie version. They notice silence and strange activity, but ignore it. Microscope real-world analysis. This part is actually very realistic. Human psychology often leads to denial of danger, overconfidence, misinterpretation of signs. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy checkmark realistic behavior. Heavy checkmark common in real-life disasters. Water wave Part 4. First attack timing. Clapperboard movie version. The first attack happens quickly after entering the jungle. Microscope real-world analysis. Possible, but unlikely. Predators usually observe first. Wait for the right moment. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark possible. Cross mark but slightly exaggerated in timing. Part 5. Team response to danger. Clapperboard movie version. The team panics, argues, and makes poor decisions. Microscope real-world analysis. This is extremely accurate. Under stress, humans lose coordination, make emotional decisions, break group structure. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark highly realistic. New moon symbol Part 6. Night survival. Clapperboard movie version. The team continues moving and facing danger at night. Microscope real-world analysis. In reality, this is dangerous. Night reduces visibility, reaction time, and increases predator advantage. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark realistic risk. Cross mark but exaggerated survival chances. Snake Part 7. Predator behavior. Clapperboard movie version. The creature hunts frequently and aggressively. Microscope real-world analysis. Real predators don't behave this way. They conserve energy, avoid unnecessary risk, hunt less frequently. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Cross mark unrealistic frequency. Heavy check mark realistic hunting style, ambush. Crossed swords #part 8. Multiple attacks in short time. Clapperboard movie version. Several attacks occur within a short period. Microscope real-world analysis. Highly unlikely. Large predators need time to digest food, recover energy. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Cross mark unrealistic pacing. Counterclockwise arrows part 9. Failure to escape early. Clapperboard movie version. The team delays escape attempts. Microscope real-world analysis. This is actually realistic. In crisis situations, humans often hesitate, wait too long, hope conditions improve. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark realistic behavior. Part 10. Final plan execution. Clapperboard movie version. The team creates a last-minute plan to fight back. Microscope real-world analysis. Possible, but risky. In real life, plans require time. Coordination is difficult under stress. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark possible. Cross mark but dramatized. Skull part 11. Survival rate. Clapperboard movie version. Only a few survivors make it out. Microscope real-world analysis. This depends on conditions. But in extreme environments, heavy check mark high casualty rates are realistic. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Heavy check mark believable outcome. Sunrise part 12. Escape timing. Clapperboard movie version. Escape happens quickly after final confrontation. Microscope real-world analysis. In reality, escape would take longer. Due to injuries, terrain, limited resources. White right pointing backhand index verdict. Cross mark time compressed. Heavy check mark outcome possible. Part 13. Overall realism score. Let's summarize. Heavy check mark realistic elements. Human panic and behavior. Environmental danger. Ambush predator concept. Group breakdown. Cross mark unrealistic elements. Creature size and frequency of attacks. Speed of events. Survival probability. Bar chart final verdict. So, does the movie make sense? White right pointing backhand index partially. It combines real human psychology, real environmental danger, with exaggerated creature behavior, compressed timeline. The result? A story that feels real, even when parts of it aren't. Microphone hash. Movies are not meant to be perfectly accurate. They are meant to create emotion, tension, fear. And this story does exactly that. Because even when the details are exaggerated, the core idea remains true. Nature is powerful, and humans are not always prepared for it. Fire. The story may be fictional, but the mistakes, those happen in real life, every single day.
Now we explain part 12. This footage was never meant to be seen. Recovered from a damaged camera, deep within the jungle. It tells a story that was never officially explained. No survivors came forward. No full report was released. Only fragments remain. And what you're about to hear is a reconstruction of those final moments. Unedited, unfiltered, unforgettable. Video camera part 1. Day 1. Excitement. Camera recording starts. Laughter. Shaky footage. The team is energetic. All right, this is it. Deep jungle, no filters. They joke. They smile. They feel unstoppable. Because right now, they don't know what's coming. Herb part 2. Entering the jungle. The footage shows thick vegetation. The camera struggles to focus. Someone says, "Why is it so quiet?" Another laughs. "Relax, it's just the jungle." But the silence feels wrong. Even through the camera, you can feel it. Waterwave Part 3, the first strange moment. The camera pans to the river. Water, still. Too still. Then suddenly, a ripple. Small, but noticeable. Did you see that? The camera zooms. Nothing. Just water. Warning sign #Part 4. Uneasy energy. The tone changes. Voices become quieter. Movements become slower. The jokes stop. One of them whispers, "I don't like this place." And for the first time, no one argues. Chart with downward trend Part 5. First disappearance. The footage becomes chaotic. Running. Shouting. Heavy breathing. Where is he? The camera shakes violently. Someone points toward the water. But there's nothing there. Just silence. And confusion. Part 6. Denial captured on camera. They review the footage. Pause. Zoom. Rewind. Nothing clear. It must be something else. But their voices don't sound convinced. Because deep down, they know. New Moon Symbol Part 7. Night recordings. The footage becomes darker. Grainy. Unstable. Whispers fill the audio. "I heard something." Stay close. Then, a sound. Low. Heavy. Something moving. Snake Part 8. The first visual. For a split second, the camera captures something. A shape. Massive. Moving just beyond the light. The footage freezes. Replays. But it's too fast. Too unclear. Yet, unmistakable. Cross swords #Part 9. Panic and chaos. Everything breaks down. People argue. Shout. Blame each other. The camera captures fear in its rawest form. No acting. No script. Just survival instinct. Kicking in. Counterclockwise arrows Part 10. The hunt on camera. The attacks become more frequent. But still, rarely visible. You hear them more than you see them. A sudden movement. A scream. Then silence. The camera never fully captures it. And that makes it worse. Broken Heart Part 11. Final group footage. Only a few remain. Their faces show exhaustion. Fear. Hopelessness. One of them says, "It's not stopping." Another replies, "It's waiting." And that line says everything. Fire Part 12. The last plan. They decide to fight back. Set up a trap. The camera is placed on the ground. Still recording. Capturing everything. Or at least, what it can. Waterwave Part 13. Final moments. The audio becomes intense. Heavy breathing. Movement. Sudden chaos. The camera falls sideways. And then, it happens. A massive shape crosses the frame. Clearer than before. Terrifying. Real. The screams stop. The footage distorts. And then, static. File folder Part 14. Recovery footage analysis. Investigators later review the recording. Frame by frame. Enhancing images. Cleaning audio. But the result remains the same. No clear explanation. Only evidence that something was there. Microphone #. This footage was never meant to tell a story. It was never meant to be seen. But now that it exists, it raises one question. What else is out there, unseen, undocumented, waiting? Because sometimes, the most terrifying things are the ones we almost see. Fire. They went into the jungle to capture something on camera. But in the end, The camera captured their last moments. White heavy check mark. Now we explain how to survive the jungle if this nightmare was real. Imagine this. You're deep inside the jungle. No signal. No help. No escape. And something is hunting you. Not randomly. Not blindly. But patiently. Watching your every move. Now here's the real question. Would you survive? Because in a situation like this, survival is not about luck. It's about knowledge. And today, we're breaking down exactly how you could survive if this nightmare became real. Part 1. Rule number 1. Don't panic. The biggest mistake people make? Panic. Because panic leads to poor decisions, wasted energy, increased risk. In the movie, panic spreads quickly. But in real life, staying calm is your greatest weapon. Because when you think clearly, you survive longer. Herb Part 2. Understand your environment. The jungle is not random. It has patterns, safe zones, danger zones, and high-risk areas. You need to identify. Heavy checkmark water sources, high risk. Heavy checkmark dense vegetation, limited visibility. Heavy checkmark open areas, better awareness. The biggest mistake? Treating every part of the jungle the same. Because it's not. Water wave Part 3. Stay away from water. If there's one rule you must follow, avoid water at all costs. Why? Because predators like large snakes prefer riverbanks, swamps, still water. Water limits your movement, but not theirs. So if you want to survive, keep your distance. Busts in silhouette Part 4. Never split up. In the movie, splitting up leads to disaster. And in real life, it's one of the worst decisions you can make. Because isolation means no support, no backup, no witnesses. Stay together. Move as a group. Because numbers increase survival chances. Speaker off Part 5. Control your noise. Noise attracts attention. Talking loudly, moving carelessly, disturbing the environment. All of it sends signals. And in the jungle, signals are dangerous. Move quietly. Observe more than you speak. Because sometimes, being unnoticed is survival. New Moon Symbol Part 6. Night Strategy. Night is the most dangerous time. So what should you do? Heavy checkmark stop moving. Heavy checkmark stay in a secure location. Heavy checkmark maintain visibility with light sources. Moving at night increases risk dramatically. Because you lose your advantage. And the predator doesn't. Fire Part 7. Use fire wisely. Fire is powerful. It provides light, protection, psychological advantage. But it also has risks. Attracts attention. Reveals your location. Use it carefully. Because survival is about balance. Part 8. Think like a predator. To survive, you need to understand your enemy. Ask yourself, where would it attack? When would it strike? Who would it target? Predators go for heavy checkmark weakness, heavy checkmark isolation, heavy checkmark distraction. So eliminate those factors. Warning sign Part 9. Recognize warning signs. The jungle always gives signals. You just need to notice them. Look for small blue diamond sudden silence. Small blue diamond disturbed water. Small blue diamond unusual movements. These are not random. They are warnings. And ignoring them can be fatal. Crossed swords Part 10. If you are attacked. This is the worst case scenario. But if it happens, you need to act fast. Heavy checkmark stay focused. Heavy checkmark target sensitive areas, eyes, head. Heavy checkmark, work as a team. Do not freeze. Because hesitation can cost your life. Part 11. Plan your escape early. Don't wait until things get worse. Create an escape plan immediately. Identify safe routes, exit points, backup options. Because the longer you stay, the higher the risk. Sunrise Part 12. Energy management.